Welcome everyone to this Draft Tech. I'm Ian Duke. Joining me is Christian Calcano of Team MTG Bent Card and Team MTG Mint Card. Now, Christian, you're coming off of a 3-0 yesterday in Limited on the back of 6 times Slitherblade. Yeah. Pretty awesome there, and you're 1-1 so far for a total of 4-1 in Limited. How are you enjoying the format so far?
Love it. I think it's a great format. The beginning was great because got to try out so many different decks, and I just felt like no matter how many drafts I did, like, you know, it's just like, man, like, I could draft this, I could draft that. I just felt like there were so many, like, possibilities, so many different archetypes, like, you know, cycling, splashing, aggro decks, control decks, etc. And you could play a 15-land deck or an 18-land deck, you know, and it's just like, I've never had as much fun as this, like, playing a draft format.
Awesome, that's great to hear. Let's jump in and see what possibility you went with this time. So walk us through your pack one, pick one. What interesting decisions did you have here? What did you go with?
All right, well, clearly, you know, Nissa is a, you know, pretty strong rare, of course, but like, I'm not at all interested in being blue-green. I feel like, for me personally, blue-green is possibly the worst archetype, and I'm a very big fan of white, because I think white is the best color. So I ended up going with Fanbearer, just because I like drafting white aggressive decks, and it's just so good because it's a pseudo removal spell, and then can also, you know, attack for the win.
Also just uses your mana efficiency, gets on board on turn 1. Awesome. So Fanbearer kicking off the draft here for Christian Calcano. Take a look at pack 2, or pick 2, I should say.
Yeah, well, I was a little disappointed here because I'm mostly looking to, you know, maybe build on my first pick and like get another like good white card. But, you know, Mighty Leap is, you know, it's fine, but like not a card I'm looking to take. And when I look at this pack, like the next best, like the card I want to be pairing with, I want to be either blue-white or red-white, and there's no like aggressive blue cards here. So for me, the pick was a clear Nefcrop Entangler, because I just wanted to try going to like a red-white aggressive deck. Makes
a lot of sense. We've seen players really prioritizing 2 drops here this weekend. Yeah. So good second pick for you there. And how about pick 3?
Yeah, at the beginning of this pack, I was like getting a little worried because like the first card I saw was Beetle. I was like, oh man, I'm like in the wrong colors maybe. But then like I saw the Scavenger and then the Crop Mate. And while I think Crop Mate is, you know, a pretty good card, like 3 drops in a way are like kind of like too expensive because you don't want to be stuck with multiple in your hand. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this set has a ton of 3 drops. So they're like very replaceable, so I went with the Scavenger because it's another 2-drop, and you know the effect is obviously really good, especially in red-white exert where you have a lot of creatures you can exert with, and you know it kind of saves you from being flooded a bit. Cool.
So let's take a look at your deck as it evolves. You clearly have a plan here. You're definitely going to be a red aggressive deck, maybe paired with white. Let's look at what the next 3 picks brought you here: a Flameblade Adept, Cartouche of Solidarity, and a Fling. All 3 of those cards end up making your final deck there. You happy with those additions generally?
Oh, yeah, I love it. I mean, that Adept guy, I know it looks, you know, like kind of like not that great or whatever, but the fact that it has Menace, like you just get so much damage in. You put like a own Kopesh on it or put a Cartouche on it, and you know, it's kind of like the red Slitherblade, you know?
Right, right. Small creatures, ways to suit them up. Awesome. What do the next 3 bring you here? Hone Kopesh, Pursue Glory, Cartouche of Solidarity. All of those also made your deck here.
Yeah, so the key thing is that the Cartouche tabled, and I was just, you know, I was thrilled. Because, like I have Cartouche as probably either the 2nd or the 3rd best white common.
Wow.
I think it's because it's just so good in these aggressive decks because it allows you to make these attacks that like you otherwise wouldn't be able to make, and then it also gives you another creature on top of that, so you can keep the aggression on.
And of course, that extra creature pairs well with Pursue Glory, just going wide, giving your team a pump there. Awesome stuff. What do the next picks bring? So this is rounding out the rest of the pack here. Looks like you added a Mighty Leap to the deck here. Yeah. And the rest just kind of stuff that ended up in your sideboard. So Mighty Leap, I'm sure, just a trick that's always serviceable, nothing spectacular.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, you know, being like, there's not that many ways to like deal with flyers. There aren't that many like cheap flyers, etc. So it's just like another good card to, you know, kind of close the game out. And obviously, like Mighty Leap / Brute Stem plus Fling.
Plus Fling,
you know, we got a combo. So
the classic combo, awesome. So coming out of pack 1, you actually had 10 cards in your main deck, which is a pretty good spot to be in there. So here, beginning of pack 2, you picked up an Electrify is very notable, as well as a couple solid creatures, and well, Gustwalker being more than solid here. You talked about how much you love this card.
Yeah, I think Gustwalker is the best common overall. Like, you know, I take it over a decent amount of rares.
Over the removal spells.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And I was obviously ecstatic to see it first pick. You know, it's funny, like, if any other white or red card was in the pack, I wouldn't have taken Electrify, and it actually didn't end up making my deck, because it's honestly just like too expensive, and we'd much rather just try to be as low curve as possible.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, taking the next three picks here. Honored Crop Captain definitely makes the deck for sure. Blood Rage Brawler, fantastic 2-drop there as well. Manticore the Gauntlet doesn't make the deck, too expensive.
Yeah,
pretty self-explanatory.
I've had to like side it in so far today, just against like the decks that have like a lot of like early interaction and removal. If they're able to slow me down like in the early game, it can be hard to close out the game. So like, you know, eventually, like, I'll end up drawing lands and having a card like Manticore to like finish them off. That plus a Fling as well. So
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So let's whiz through the rest of this pack here. You got a few more nice creatures here: Nephcrop Entangler, a Nimbleblade Kenra, and a Bloodlust Inciter. All those made the deck.
Yeah. Just
great filling out your 1 and 2 drop. You have a lot of 1-drops by now, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then let's see what the rest of the pack brought for you here. A few more solid creature options, mostly for the sideboard. Your second Fling doesn't make the main deck, but maybe could come in potentially depending on the matchup. Cool. So let's zip forward to pack 3 and look at the first 3 picks here. Nephcrop Entangler, Oketra's Monument actually does make the main deck here. This is an interesting one to me. It's a little bit of a slower card in that, you know, you're not impacting the board on turn 3, but that payoff comes a little bit later. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, like in hindsight, I shouldn't have taken it because there was a Fan Bearer in the pack, and I should have taken the Fan Bearer. But you know, at the time, I was thinking like it's probably fine because like I already had a Pursue Glory, so you know, I was thinking okay, just like going wide with tokens. I knew I had a ton of creatures, especially a ton of cheap ones. So I figure I can go like Monument on 3, 2/2-drops on 4, and then you know try and finish them off with like a Glory in the later game.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then Glory Bound Initiate, an awesome rare.
Yeah.
Like not only is it a powerful rare, but it's also a 2-drop kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, I was
together your favorite things there.
I was obviously super happy to get a third.
Cool. Picking up another Fan Bearer, that makes the deck. Thresher Lizard fills out the 3-drop slot, of which you don't have a lot so far. And then a Nimbleblade Kenra. What came next after that? Another Manticore, probably for the sideboard. A second Mighty Leap, which did make the main deck as well. You said you like those tricks there. And a second Hone Kopesh also.
Yeah, the equipment is super good. It's you know, you just want to be able to like +1 is often enough like good to give you like a good attack, and also like they're like worse than cartouches, but when you don't get the cartouches, they're like, you know, they're like a replacement effect for those, basically.
Oh, I see. It makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned you actually didn't get a cartouche of Zeal, which is a card you would normally like to see.
I would have slammed it.
Didn't have the luck for it this draft here. Cool. Let's check out the rest of pack 3. Everything here. Looks like nothing else major got added to the deck here. You've got a couple more sideboard options. And here is your final deck here. How happy are you with this? How much does this exemplify what you want to see when you're drafting red and white?
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to red-white, this is definitely like the kind of, I want my deck to look similar to this, but of course, like I prefer having the red cartouche just because it makes your deck so much more explosive. But other than that, like, you know, I felt like the deck was pretty strong, and I had like a lot of good ways to finish the game with like leaps and fling, etc.
Definitely looks good to me. You got a great curve here. You're 1-1 in the draft so far. You think you got your bad matchups out of the way.
Yeah, I hope so.
So best of luck in the 3rd round of draft here on Saturday morning. This is Ian Duke signing off from the Deck Tech for Christian Calcano.